How many friends have you made in your lifetime? It used to be a difficult thing to keep track of, but thanks to Facebook, our social circles are better connected than ever. A lot has changed in the 10 years since Mark Zuckerberg invented Facebook just down the street from here in his Harvard dorm room. What began as a way for college students to keep in touch is now the world's biggest social network, and its biggest fans are closer to retirement than graduation. It's fair to say 10 years after its launch, Facebook is more than just a social directory. The site now touts over 200 billion friend connections, including a group of users Facebook didn't originally have in mind, older adults.
As more and more of my friends had joined, I thought maybe it made sense.
Well, only to be in contact originally with my kids, because they were on it. They were not that excited to hear that I was getting on.
I wanted to look at my kids' pages. That was the main thing that got me to start.
Users 65 and older are now Facebook's fastest growing group. Ellen Rintel says for her, Facebook soon became more than just checking on her kids.
But mostly I've used it to reconnect with friends. My whole graduating class has found each other, and it's been really fun.
Cynthia Gensheimer says she's surprised at how easy it is to make connections.
Somebody knows somebody who knows somebody else, and all of a sudden you've reached out to hundreds of people.
And Gensheimer boasts of another connection to Facebook.
My son was one of the Harvard students in the same class as Mark Zuckerberg, so he gave him a suggestion early on, but I think a lot of people gave him suggestions early on.
Too bad it wasn't an investment check instead of a suggestion. All right, well, my next guest has unique insight into the social network's evolution over the last decade. Sarah Watson was a freshman at Harvard in 2004 when Facebook was launched and was only accessible to Harvard students. She's now a fellow at the Berkman Center for Internet and Society at Harvard. Welcome to you, Sarah.
Thank you, Emily.
So can you remember the detail when this first came out?
I do. I was a freshman, and it was February, obviously, and I was reading the Harvard Crimson, and it had a story about how a bunch of people had started joining Facebook, and I thought, wow, that's a great idea, and went back home to my dorm and logged in from my desktop Dell computer, which pretty much dates where that was. So.
But back then, it was sort of it was a tool for rating the freshman women as well, so it wasn't just.
Sure.
All the women, I should say.
That was, I think, the switch from Face Mash, to the Facebook. And so, but the Facebook itself was modeled after the freshman Facebook, the physical object that we used to have as students at Harvard.
So we have a little compare and contrast. Here's Facebook 10 years ago. So it's very simple, the layout, you basically gave your very simple data about who you are and what your interests were. And here it is now. I can't even. Well, very commercialized, let's put it that way. Very different. So do you use it now?
I do. Not as much as I used to, for sure. I definitely use things like Twitter and Tumblr a lot more than I use Facebook. For me, Facebook right now is a lot about birthday messages. So.
Yeah, but you don't get the personalized stuff on Twitter with the photographs and all that, do you?
Sure. Well, to some extent. I think the big thing that's really changed is I think my audience used to be a lot more my friends and my family members, but the way I think about Facebook now is the data that I'm throwing out there is going into the machine of Facebook. And so my audience, my status update is not being read necessarily by my friends, but the
others,
the engines of advertisers.
We're going to bring another voice in here. Judith Dunath is also a Berkman Fellow. She's the former director of the Sociable Media Group at the MIT Media Lab. So, in your opinion, Judith, why has Facebook outlasted, all the other startups that were going on at the time?
Right. I think initially people were really excited about the idea of just connecting other people, this idea that having a connection would connect you to their friends, and suddenly everyone would be friends of friends, and we'd be one happy global village. But it turns out that if someone is a stranger and you happen to have made those connections, they're actually still a stranger. What Facebook did that was different is really bring in the content of the relationship. So when you go onto Facebook, it's not that you're going to look at your social graph. You're really going to read this extremely local newspaper, effectively made of updates of people who you have some degree of a personal connection with. So I think a lot of the fascination has been around the news feed and this constant set of stories, some of which are big, but a lot of which I think a lot of people are fascinated by the sort of, and irritated by the same measure, but that it's the kind of mundane things about people they know, but they wouldn't have otherwise been privy to that information.
Now, does it surprise you that adults over 65 are the fastest growing group on Facebook?
Well, partly, I think
people like Sarah dropping off.
People like me are the popular ones. I don't think it's that surprising because it really does address a real need that people have had. We are in a very mobile society where, you lost track of the people you went to high school with or the people in your previous job. People have moved around a lot, and because of lack of time, it takes a lot of effort, we've left a lot of people behind that we like. And so what Facebook has done is it suddenly said, it's given people this opportunity to reconnect with people that they had this connection with, but the vagaries of jobs and moving had made them disappear. So,
do you think it's as relevant as it used to be, Sarah? Because you've admitted you're dropping off.
Yeah, I mean, I think the network is still there, and the network is really the important piece. And so that's how I keep in touch with all my friends from Harvard and extended to high school and everyone else. And so, I like you said, the connection to the people that you want to keep in touch with is there.
Now, there's this new app coming, this paper app with much fanfare. What is it going to do? Either one of you describe it to me.
I mean, it's a lot more like the newspaper angle, I think. It's modeled after all these mobile apps that are like flip.
Looks like BostonGlobe.com.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think they're assuming that what you're going to Facebook for is the kind of live updates from friends and kind of turning that model into exactly what it is, which is the story sharing.
All right, Sarah Watson, Judith Donath, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.